my darling Fumi Nation. How are you? How are we? My name is Fumi Desalu-Vold. For those of you that are stopping by for the very first time, you are so very welcome indeed. Are we living and loving the hair? None other than Healthy Hair Studio. Healthy Hair Studio is beyond and fantastic. It is the only brand in my entire existence that I have been so legit behind, because their products work. Their products are beyond and fantastic. I got all of my edges back and I am just living and loving my hair.
Hi guys, my name is ENITAN hair coach. I am UK's first ever hair coach and a trichologist. We are a team of trichologists and hair coaches here in W6 London, and we help those who are desperate and have tried and everything else has failed. We look after those who have chronic scalp concerns, flaky itchy scalp that's been going on for many years. We help those that have hair loss that has progressed instead of improved, and we help those that just generally want to have a better understanding of better quality hair, length, volume, and reduce that dryness. Visit us by clicking here.
I am wearing none other than African designer Vicky Atelier. I'm going to put her link below, and it is just an absolutely beautiful dress. So why are we here? We are here because our wonderful Kemi Badenoch is having one or two challenges, and in the prior episode I had mentioned that Kemi should be much more social and she should reach out to the people. She should be much more vocal in support of her party and where she's trying to go in her career, especially when it comes to voting. And I was saying that she needs to have more of a social presence. Well, this week has been a little bit challenging for her, and there has been even talks of her replacement, of which I don't think will happen. But go ahead and take a listen.
This question is apparently from Lloyd George. The former Liberal Prime Minister has climbed out of the grave to ask, would a heavy defeat of the Conservatives in the May local elections lead to the ousting of Kemi Badenoch as their leader? And if so, would she be succeeded by a more moderate candidate or a right-wing hardliner? Andrew, take it away first.
She is stubborn. She is proud, she is tough, so she's not going to go.
Rachel, you've written a feature for the New Statesman magazine titled What Went Wrong for Kemi Badenoch? The Tories are growing impatient with their leader, aren't they? Reform's overtaken them in the polls. There's been a lot of talk about the prospect of either Robert Jenrick or James Cleverly swooping in to become leader, but I want to bring our attention to something from our columnist, former Conservative MP and Justice Secretary David Gauke. He says there is a third name also being uttered in Tory circles. Boris Johnson. Really, Andrew?
I don't know. My shoulders slump, my spine curves, I exhale. I mean, maybe, possibly,
Nadine Dorries is talking about it.
Nadine Dorries is always talking about that. To be, Boris Johnson, he's dug the moat, he's written the bloody book, on it, he's probably at a bit of a loose end. I'm sure there'll be lots of Conservative MPs happy to stand down in his favour. But I just think, I may well be proven wrong, I think the brand is so broken, so tarnished because of what went on before, and he is still so divisive, even among the relatively small number of Conservative MPs left, that I don't see it.
Yeah, I think his name does come up, but it comes up in that kind of slightly delusional, fantastical way, like,
wistful.
Wasn't it better when we had someone who could win elections? Was it really? Yeah, like don't you miss those times? So yes, his name does get mentioned, but I don't think it gets mentioned in any kind of serious way. And whatever sentiment about him there is in terms of the party membership, Conservative MPs, I think, are done with Boris Johnson. The 121 that currently exist, there isn't much appetite there.
And while people are abandoning Labour somewhat. They appear to be going anywhere but the Conservative Party.
Yeah, this is the really worrying thing. I think the Conservatives saw the sharp plummet in popularity that the Labour Party suffered very, very early on into the government and kind of assumed that they would be picking up at least some of that, and they haven't been. Those votes have been going to Reform, to the Greens, to the Lib Dems, basically anywhere except to Don't Know as well. That's one loads of
that famous party.
Loads of votes. Don't Know, none of the above. But they're not coming back to the Conservative Party. And when I spoke to people about Kemi Badenoch's performance so far, everyone stressed it's a really big challenge. Anyone would be struggling. There was a crisis of morale, funding, volunteers, all of that. Anyone would be finding it really difficult. However, she is not making it any better.
Andrew, we've talked a lot before about how much of a problem reform has posed for the Conservatives. It's something that no other Conservative leader bouncing back from defeat has had to deal with, has it? Another party on the right.
Kemi Badenoch has, on one level, as it were, to her left, she has got a Labour Party which is sounding increasingly small C Conservative on a range of issues. Doesn't make it easy for her. And of course, on the other side, she's got Nigel Farage with his wolfish grin staring at her. It is very, very tough. I think she had a slightly better week, in Prime Minister's Questions this week.
Yeah, I do too.
But that's from a relatively low base. And what is pretty clear is that there are lots of helpful figures on the right of British politics trying to ensure there is an absolute crunch or smash for her around the time of the May local elections. They are bound to be very difficult for the Tories. And I think Tim Shipman had a piece, and he was quoting somebody saying, we're going to make it absolutely horrible for her. We're going to make it as difficult as possible before, during and after those election results. And if we can't get her out then, we're going to try to get her out sharpish. But if we can't do it then, we'll wait until the party conference. There is a plot to try to get rid of her, and I assume to put in Robert Jenrick, who is the most pro-reform leading Conservative at the moment.
But would Jenrick and obviously the other defeated leadership candidate, James Cleverly, who's still around, would they find it? Would they be any better?
No, I was talking to Michael Gove about this week, and he made the point that there are so many hurdles. First of all, there's a vast number of Conservative voters still, particularly in the south, who would go nowhere near Nigel Farage. So any kind of alliance between Reform, because the idea was that Reform would fight Labour in the north and the Tories would fight Labour in the south. And a bit like the Lib Dems and Labour, they would sort of divide the country up between them, and they would beat Labour that way. But the problems are, as I say, lots of pro-Tory voters who wouldn't go anywhere near Nigel Farage, a lot of Reform voters who loathe the Conservatives and wouldn't come over. And then, of course, the personalities involved, because Nigel Farage is not the most collegiate politician. He's somebody who likes to lead by himself, and therefore, even if it was Robert Jenrick, I'm not entirely sure how well the two of them would get on together as a kind of yoked dual leadership. So I see lots and lots of problems. Kemi Badenoch may yet make it through, chin down, keep going, keep slogging.
Rachel, I mean, one of the points that you make in your piece is that the foundations are crumbling for the party as well. So whoever's leader's got a problem, haven't they? Talk about CCHQ. What state's it in?
Well, they've got no money. They've been making dozens of redundancies. The local associations are out of money. They're really low on volunteers and activists, like the people that you need to just go out and do door knocking. Like the local associations will have like 2 maybe, compared to like the efforts that the Lib Dems have, who are great at mobilising their supporters in that regard. I think one of the problems with Kemi Badenoch, we talk a lot about her ideologically, where does she fit in, and that stuff is important, but being opposition leader, there's a lot of grunt work involved. There's a lot of turning up to events and charming donors and turning up to local associations and rallying the troops and kind of just being there and doing the sort of the boring bits. And she doesn't really do the boring bits. She does the sort of big thinking. She has the big speeches. She turns up to things late. She hates networking. She even her supporters will say she hates networking. That's not really her skill set. Being leader of the opposition involves a lot of networking, and it involves a lot of introducing yourself to the public and trying to get the public to like you. So when David Cameron was 4 months into being leader of the opposition, which is where Kemi Badenoch is now, he was hugging huskies and getting pictures of himself like cuddling these dogs on all the front pages and
hugging donors too.
Hugging donors too. And I'm not saying that Kemi Badenoch should go and hug some puppies, but she hasn't done a great job of either introducing herself to the public or of kind of trying to fix the fundamentals of a party that is in crisis. And she's doing all of that while trying to see off reform on the right. So it's
miserable, isn't it?
It's miserable, and it's difficult to see how much better somebody else could be doing, but it is easy to see the things that she is doing that are not helping herself.
I would strongly suggest go out to the people, go to the bakers, go to the supermarket, go to the schools, talk to the bus drivers. So what do you think? Drop it down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll be coming up with more updates as you have heavily requested in the comment section about Kemi Badenoch, and I will see you I'll see you sooner than later. Do not forget to like, to subscribe, hit the notification button, and all of my love.
Value of the information that we were given. So it's not overwhelming. It was very clearly laid out. It was accessible, even for someone that's not familiar with public relations.
Now I'm leaving, feeling more PR ready. What I thought I knew, I now know more. What I came to do, I've done so much more.
If you are serious about really growing your business or growing your brand, then like this is really this is a must.
And I love the fact that I came away from it feeling and knowing that I now have a clear pathway for the things I want to do next for my business.
I'm literally in awe.
I feel like I can pitch. There's so many platforms that I've wanted to go on, so many podcasts or just things that I thought I can only dream about. But in this retreat and just through the classes and the sessions, I really learned how to actually reach out to those platforms, to those huge platforms.
Know that when it comes to PR, Nina gonna put you together, okay? During our sessions, how she walked us through the playbook and she had us complete tasks. It gave us a sense of clarity.
Nina, you did that. You brought a group of amazing women together and you helped us bond, see our worthiness, and yeah, it was everything I could have dreamed of and more.
Yes, it's really been a unforgettable experience.
This is by far the most impactful few days I've had in a very long time.
Nina, you have no idea how profoundly your journey has impacted my journey.
Don't even think about not signing up.